Okay, so let me try that up again. I have an update to my little chat picker tool for moderation actions. So the difference now is that I can see what I'm typing in as I'm typing it. So I can say 1023 for stream elements. And of course I can still hit 0 for short timeout. See, it was showing it in red as I was keying it now. So they've been timed out for 3 seconds and then automatically added back to the moderators by Twitch chat. Yeah. This time I was going to go into the actual code for the implementation for this, so go into StreamerBot, and the very first thing I have is a buffer chatter B action, which acts when a Twitch is triggered with every Twitch chat message. It sets a global variable, C-stamp counter to 0. Whoa. With a default value. If it does not exist, it creates it with a value of 0. Then it increments it by 1 each time. And so every chat message, we're incrementing a counter, and then we're executing this code. So I believe this is some base conversion code here. So let's convert the integer to base 3. Or base 4 rather. Then we're executing this little block. So we're looking for a global C-stamp counter variable and a username variable, which is what we'll create. And we're creating we're looking to load back our stamp dictionary variable, which, if it exists, is where we're storing a hash table. Your dictionary string, code buffer target, the code buffer target variable, and the code buffer variable. The code buffer variable will be the digits we're typing, and the target variable is the username we're typing. Our base characters are 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's why I say it's a base 4 number. Our O-stamp counter is, our C-stamp counter modulo 256. If we hit more chatters than that, we have to roll over and reuse the older codes. So there's the hash table of usernames, which is indexed by the code number, the counter number, in base 4. Actually, the hash index is not in base 4. It's actual counter from 0 to 256. So then, once that's all set and done, we've set the global variable in StreamerBot to the stamp dictionary. Variable stamp counter, O-stamp counter username, O-stamp counter, which is the stamp counter in octal base, base 4. Sorry. We're writing to the output file, stampusers.js. We're going to create a JavaScript file that has the code typed in and the buffer target. That will become evident later. And then our dictionary, which contains the lists of codes and chatters. Finally, our just our raw list, our users.txt, which is writing the line of the key and data for each dictionary entry. So if I go to a command prompt, I have stamp users.js, stamp users.txt. And I have stamp select.js. And the stamp users.html file, which is just the bare HTML that loads these two output files from the chatbot as scripts and therefore injects the code into this web page that I have as a custom doc in OBS. And we have this script that enumerates the dictionary of chatters and displays it on the web page in a basic table. Okay. And that was the buffer chatter action. We have the buffer add SFX, which just only plays a sound. Our buffer A action, which is bound to the hotkey F16. Hotkey F16 is our 0 digit. So it plays the sound, sets the argument of add code to the 0 digit, and executes the buffer add 1. And the buffer add 1 takes as a parameter the different digits and executes this bit of C# code that says, first of all, get the argument for add code out to the output string add code. Then we have the code buffer target, which starts from, it's stored as a global variable in StreamerBot. If it is set, then that tells us the username that is being targeted. And the code buffer is the ID number we have. If the code buffer is null, though, then we zero all this. Now we have the action buffer, which is the action from 0 to 5 will be taking. If it's null, then we zero it, then we blank it. We're computing a time span of now in UTC minus the epoch January 1st, 1970. And we say code time. We are getting another global variable retrieving ucode buffer time, which is going to be a timestamp. If the code time plus 15 seconds is less than the time span total seconds, and the buffer ends with a 5, and the buffer does not end with a 5, then we're setting the time to the current time span, and we're zeroing everything. So what that is saying is that under these conditions, we're just going to reset. We've applied a limited amount of time to complete of an entry. And if the code is not complete, if we haven't fully selected a chatter, then 15-second timeout for the selection process. Now this one, we have a code time plus 7200. In that case, we are zeroing it if we haven't chosen an action within 2 hours. Okay. so we're creating buffer mode and buffer X as local variables, and we're going through our buffer. We're stepping through each character, and if the characters are 0, 1, or 2, or 3, then do nothing and skip that position. If we're in mode 0 and we hit the 4, that's the cancel button, so we 0 everything and stop reading it. Okay. If we're in buffer mode 0 and the digit is a 5, that is regarded as an enter, and we're finished buffering keystrokes, so we go switch to mode 7 and continue reading the buffer. In mode 0, buffer mode 0, if the digit is a 4, that's reset all over again. If it's a 5, then we are loading our hash table of users, and we're about to be prepared to search it. If the stamp dictionary is not null, and the stamp dictionary, we're indexing into the hash based on the string that's keyed into the buffer. If that entry is found, then that's the targeted user. The code buffer target is set to the dictionary entry, and we set the UA target username to the code buffer target, the result of our search, and the chatter ID number to the code buffer itself. Then we run the action, the streamerbot action, UA buffer ready, and after all that is said and done, we add the current entered code to the code buffer. Otherwise, we just add the code entry to the code buffer. If the buffer mode was 1, the entry is already completed. We were waiting for the actual action, so the action is the entry typed instead of an item to be added to the buffer. So we set the action buffer to the code. Then if the action exists, UA buffer ZX and the action buffer text. Then we're going to set the target to the targeted username from Then we're creating another local variable, string buffer, code buffer Q. If the length is greater than 1, then Q is the substring from 0 to the length -1. What we're doing is we're stripping out the tail of the buffer, the enter key at the end, and we are setting the argument to the chatter ID number and the action code to the action buffer that we set, values we set there. Then we run UA buffer ZX and the action buffer number. Okay. And this should be cleanup. We set the ucode buffer to code buffer and the ucode buffer time to the timestamp. It's just setting global variables to reflect the current state before we exit the function. And if the code buffer target is not blank, then we set the global variable of the code buffer target to the username. And if not, then we remove the ucode buffer target global. Finally, we write our stampselect.js with the information that is going to be shown in the OBS doc. Alright. So these are the other buffer actions. Set add code to 1 for the digit 1. Then go back, execute the buffer add 1 action. This one is set the argument to 2 and then run buffer add 1. This is set the action to based on the digit 3, buffer add 1. They all call the same action after setting the argument according to the digit, and these are bound to the hotkey for the digits from 0 through 5. And UA buffer ready shows this is executed when we're waiting for the final action digit to be shown. And this is the digit 0 action, which is bound to a 3-second timeout right now. And the digit 1 action is 600 second. 2 is an hour. 3 is a Twitch ban of the target. And 4 is a Twitch unban of the target. And that's just a cancel, so nothing's done. So previously I figured out how to export all these, so I was able to add these to an export. Although you can apparently export the actions, you cannot export hotkeys. But so I open this export and then I say export to clipboard. And I don't want to clear the export, but okay. So there it is. I'll probably paste that somewhere. Maybe a GitHub gist or something, but that was just an overview of how this has been set up. I guess I'll post it somewhere in a bit. That's all.